Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel, and today we will be talking about Brother Bear. Now first off, before I begin this channel, I would like to give a shout out to Phil Collins, because he did the soundtrack for Brother Bear, and let me tell you, all Phil Collins songs in Brother Bear, they rock. Okay, so let's get right into the video. So it starts off with a wise old man telling the story of him and his two brothers. So he tells one story about one of his brothers, Kenai, who desperately was a boy but who wanted to become a man. So we see straight off that Kenai is running from a bunch of caribous and they're trying to chase him. And then his brothers, Sika and Denaihi, have to hide with him until the caribous disappear and they run off. Okay? And after this, we see the brothers play fighting with each other, and they do a thing which is so gross, which Denaihi tries to spit on Kenai as a joke. No. I just think that's gross. But anyway, they're boys. So before Denaihi can even spit on him, their older brother Sika says, "Cut it out, you two. We're going to be late." Now, what they are going to be late for is because a brotherhood ceremony, which is when you become 16. I'm just guessing here, but my guess is when you become old enough, the great spirits give you a totem. Cause this was back in the times where mammoths in like ice ages and ice fortresses were around at this time. So we are going back into the times where the mammoths lived. The mammoths. So anyway, Denaihi starts kidding with him and saying, "Oh, right, the big brotherhood ceremony where you're gonna get your totem. It doesn't matter what the spirits say. You're always gonna be our baby brother." And they're the shaman woman of their village, and she went up to the great spirits, and the great spirits gave Kenai his totem that day, but we don't get to know where it is. When we get to the ceremony, the daughter runs up and says hi to her grandma because her grandma is the great and wise shaman. I love this movie so much. Did I mention that I love this movie? I love this movie. So, the granddaughter runs up to the grandma, and the grandma gives her a hug and says, "When each of us comes of age, the great spirits gives us a totem." And now it's Kenai's turn to get his. And so the woman asks him, "Are you nervous?" And then Kenai says, "Excited." And then this is when the woman says, "You should be, it's a good one." And he thinks it's like a hawk or eagle or something. But she says, "Your totem is love." And then you see this baby bear. And then he says, "The bear of love." And then she goes on and she goes on to explain that the bear of love connects all living things together as a unit. And then Kenai says very rudely, "Who wants to trade?" And then the woman hears him, and then she bops him on the head and said, "There is no trading." And she says, "Oh, Kenai, love is the most precious of totems. It reveals itself in unexpected ways. Let love guide your actions, and one day you'll be a man, and we will place and 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 we will place your hand mark in the mark of all the great ancestors." And then you see the wall of all the hand marks of the great ancestors. And then everybody cheers. And then Denaihi makes fun of him when he goes home and says, "There he is, the lover boy." And then Denaihi actually says, "Hey, since you're skipping around loving everybody, I made you something." And then Kenai says, "You did? Really?" And then Denaihi pulls out a crown of flowers. And then Denaihi says, "Now when you're skipping around loving everybody, you'll smell so sweet." And then Kenai just gets mad and puts it back into Denaihi's hands with the angry "eh." But there is one key that I forgot to mention in the movie, and I am so sorry. When they went fishing and when they got the fish, Denaihi, his brother, told him to tie up the fish so the bears won't get it. Well, when he was talking to his older when he was talking to his older brother Sika, and Kenai was saying, "A bear doesn't love anybody. They don't think, they don't feel there." And then while they're walking, he sees the empty fish basket, and then everybody in the village gets mad at him because that was their weekly supply of fish. And then Kenai says they're thieves, but before they see the fish basket, his brother Sika tells him, "I felt the same way when Tanana gave me mine." Tanana, that is the woman's name. He says, he uh 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 he said, "I felt the same way when Tanana gave me mine." And then Kenai says, "Get out of here." "No, you didn't." And then he says, "Really, and 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 and, and then Sika says, and then and 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 and, and then Sika says, "Really, I." And then Sika goes off to explain. He said he didn't really know what the ego of guidance meant, but now that he's older, he understands what it means. He understands what it means to be a leader and to keep an eye on his two brothers. And then he gives him a noogie. I love friendship and the brothership that Kenai has with his brothers. I just want to say that. So, they continue talking, and then Kenai says that he really wants to get his handprint on that wall, and then Sika tells him, just be patient, Kenai. When you live by your totem, you will. And then Kenai says, really? And then he says, guarantee it. And then they high five. And then Kenai begins to say, come on, the bear of love, a bear doesn't love anybody. They don't think, they don't feel. They are thieves. Cause he sees the fish basket is empty. Kenai, let me just say something to you, man. Okay, let me just say something to you, man. Okay. I know you were excited about getting your totem, but you really should have tied up that basket, because that basket barely had a knot in it. It didn't have a knot at all. And now all their supplies is gone. And the night he says, Kenai, you didn't tie it up, did you? And then Kenai says, and then the night he says, you should have got the totem of pinheads. And then Sika says, knock it off. We'll just make another basket. And then instead of saying, yeah, alright, it's just a basket, we can make another one, he calls him a name and says, why don't you just get Loverboy to do it? He's the one that's messing stuff up all the time. So this is when Kenai gets mad and says, alright, I'll go get your basket. And then he goes off to find the bears by himself. But his brothers chase after him. And then he finds the bear's paw print. And then the brothers find him, but when Kenai was in the woods, but I forgot to tell you this. When Kenai was in the woods, he was about to eat some berries when he heard a bear growl. So he sees the bear and he gets scared. So he grabs his spear and the bear ends up fighting him and pushing him down a hill of rocks. And then his brothers say, Kenai, and then they try to help. But when his brother Sika finds him and tries to help him up, when his brothers Sika finds him and tries to help him up, the bear is right behind him, about to attack Sika. But the night he says, no, you're not going to attack my brother. So he ends up throwing a bunch of ice at him and saying, come on, bear, come this way. And then the bear ends up trying to attack Denai too. But Sika, the oldest brother, put his staff into the ice, and it ends up breaking, and then him and the bear ends up going down into the river. The bear ends up coming out, but not Sika. When Sika was on the ground, let me explain what happened. When Sika was on the ground, he saw the ice crumble to his brothers, and he saw the bear almost go to his brothers. And Sika thought, hey, if the ice breaks, if and Sika thought to himself, hey, if the ice breaks, the bear cannot get to my brothers. So he decides to break the ice. But when the ice breaks, only the bear comes up and not Sika. So Kenai helps Denahi up out of this ice hole that he got himself stuck in. And he ended up getting him out, and Denahi and Kenai end up being just fine. They are just fine. They are not. So Kenai and Denahi are just fine. But they are looking for their brother Sika because they saw the bear come up, but not Sika. So they are all around that place trying to find Sika in the water. But it is too late. Sika is with the ancestors. And Kenai wants to go after the bear, but Denahi tells him not to upset the spirits. And he knows what he is feeling, but going after the bear will not change anything. And Kenai and Kenai says, "Oh, spirit, thanks for your wisdom." And then he throws the bear totem away onto the ground. And then Tanana, the shaman, picks it up, and then Denahi says, "I got us something." So Denahi takes the totem and tries to go up the mountain where the bear was last seen to stop Kenai from killing the bear. And Tanana says, the woman says, the great shaman, Tanana says, "You left too soon, Sika. Your brothers need your guidance." And with that, the great spirits are talking in the sky. So, Kenai finds the bear. And Kenai begins to use his spear. and he actually succeeds within killing the bear. But all of a sudden, the great spirits start talking. And Denahi is not there yet, but he has found the mountain where the bear was. So he begins to climb. And he drops his stick, but still he gets it back and begins to climb. But still, Denahi gets the spear back and then he begins to climb. And then all of a sudden, the great spirits start. And then all of a sudden, the great spirits start talking in the sky to Kenai. And then the great spirits just drop down and a light comes and then he sees his brother Sika at the spirit guide now. So Sika takes the bear. So Sika ends up taking the bear's body and turning Kenai into a bear. And then the great spirits bring him back down. But however, since Denahi got there late, he didn't see this. So when Denahi finally gets up the hill, he thinks that Kenai got eaten or killed by the bear because he only sees his torn up clothes. And then it begins to rain. Oh, did I mention that Kenai just falls down a river? It's okay because Tanana finds him and she tells him if you want to change, take it up with your brother in the great spirits. You will find him where the lights touch the earth and he will make up for what you did wrong. And Kenai says that he didn't do anything wrong, but Tanana's gone and he doesn't know how to get there. Oh, and did I mention Denahi ties Kenai's totem to the spear. And now he is going after the bear, not knowing that the bear is Kenai. So he tries to ask a moose. Where the light touched the earth is, but the moose are afraid of him, and why shouldn't they be? He the big bear. So acting the moose didn't work because they thought he was just kidding when he told him that he was a human changed into a bear from his brother. And then Kenai calls them dumb and says, I'll find it myself. So he ends up passing the bears. Well, actually not bears, moose. He ends up passing the moose and then getting stuck into a trap. That hangs him upside down from a tree. And then he meets this little bear named Koda. And then he tries to ask Kota if he could just hand him the stick, he can get himself down by poking the rope. But since he's a human, he cannot use his teeth to get the rope off. So anyway, he cannot use his teeth to get the rope off because he's hanging upside down and he's a bear. I just thought that he could have used his teeth or like asked for help. I mean, you could have asked for help, man. And okay, I'll tell you how he gets out of the trap. Kota just sits there talking to him all day, and he only gets out of the trap because Kota pushes that stick to him so he could reach it better. And then Kenai says, "Ha! It's all about using your head." And I'm like, dude, you didn't do anything. And he gets himself out of the trap, but he ends up getting hit in the leg with a branch that he was hanging on. And then him and Kota end up making a deal. If you take me to this salmon run where all the bears hang out and we do it every year, I will take you where the lights touch the earth. And so they make that deal stuck in an igloo because Denahi is after Kenai because he found him in the woods, but Kenai escaped in a glacier with Kota because Kota was scared of him too. So Kota says, "Is he gone? I think he went." And then Kenai covers Kota's mouth with his paw. And then it is time for them to go. But Runt and Duke, I forgot to tell you, Runt and Duke are the two mooses in the story. So Runt and Duke are eating grass. And then they see Denahi. So they get scared and run off. But one of the moose gets a cramp and he says, "Oh, cramp." But his brother did tell him to run, but he was like, "I'm still digesting, I'll get cramps." Dude, I don't care if I'm getting cramps, I'm still running. So, we get to find out that actually Kota had a story for the Salmon Run, the thing that his mother and him go to every year to tell his friends, and he tries to tell Kenai, but Kenai stops him because he's talking too much. Rude Kenai. Let my Kota talk, rude Kenai. So he says, "I'll tell you what, how about no talking?" And then Kota says, "Okay, then I'll sing. And then he sings the iconic song by Phil Collins, I'm on my way, which is on the soundtrack to Brother Bear. And everybody should listen to this, because this is an iconic song right here. And throughout this journey, and after I'm on my way, I cannot lie that Kenai and Coda do have like a bit of a friendship. And they have to pass this rocky lava type place. And I do not care. I am not going over some rocky lava to get to some place. So anyway, they cross the rocky lava place, and then all of a sudden they start playing around, and Coda ends up fake scaring him and making him jump. So Kenai tries to do the same thing, but Coda can see that he's not scary, and he says, nice try, you got a little spit right there on your face. And so when he wipes it off, Coda can see that Denahi's behind him, but in this world, humans are the monsters to animals. So he can see that Denahi is right behind him, and that he is trying to get him. And then Coda says, Kenai, look out! And then Denahi almost gets him, but they end up running so fast that Denahi doesn't get him. And then Denahi ends up trying to jump to the other side of the mountain to get to Coda and Kenai. But he ends up falling into the river, and I don't care what you guys say, it sounded like when he falls into the river, it sounded like Kenai was saying, Denahi! When he fell into the river, and then he got mad when he got to shore because he couldn't catch the bears. Oh, and I also have to tell you, Kenai found a cave when him and Coda got lost. Kenai found a cave that had all the handprints on it. And in this cave, you can see a drawing of a person holding a spear and a bear. And Coda says, wow, those monsters look really scary. Especially with those sticks. And then Kenai really looks at the drawing. And this is important because in Kenai's perspective, the bears are the monsters in Kenai's eyes. But in a bear's perspective, humans are the monsters. Humans are the monsters. And I love the fact that the illustration showed that show the different points of view. Oh, and how did they get in this cave? Well, Kenai had a fight with him because Kota lost his sense of direction when they were traveling on mammoths with Runt and Duke, with Runt and Duke following them because Runt and Duke are afraid that the hunter will come after them. So they travel along on mammoths, but they can't get off, so they're still stuck on the mammoths. But don't worry, they get off eventually. So Kenai Kenai gets mad at Kota because Kota got them lost. And then Kota says, I'm sorry we're lost, okay? Even though it's pretty much your fault. And then Kenai just decides to leave poor Kota by himself. And then Kenai goes back and says Kota, and then they find each other in the cave where the illustration is. And then when they get done looking at the illustration, Kenai says, come on, let's go. And so Kenai ends up this is when Kenai ends up piggybacking him from out of the cave. And then they bump into these goats. And then they bump into these goats who have no idea what an echo is, because they think that the echo, the person, and that the echo is talking to them. And it's just such a funny part of the movie. So anyway, they cross the rocky volcano, and they end up making it to the Cinnamon Run. But Kenai gets distracted by a bunch of birds saying fizz, 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 fizz. And so Kota ends up going off into his own and off on his own, But it's okay because he knows everybody at the salmon run because be, be, because it's what the bears do every year. And so he hugs his friend Tug and says, Tug, have you seen my mom yet? And then Tug says, no. As a matter of fact, I haven't seen her. Oh, and Kenai is afraid that one bear is going to eat him, and when the one bear bites a fish, he ends up screaming, saying, ah, and then one bear says, hey, you're scaring up the water, dude. Hey, and then and 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 then when he gets done screaming, one bear says, hey, you're scaring up the water, dude. Hey, you're scaring off the water. You're scaring up the water, dude. And then Tug says, yeah, try not to scare all the fish there. Try not to scare all the fish there, buddy. So, Tug and Coda hug, and then Coda asks, Tug, have you seen my mom? And then Tug says, no, as a matter of fact, I haven't seen her yet. And then and then and 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 then Kenai and then Coda says, ha, me and my friend Kenai beat her. And then Tug looks at Kenai and says, he's with you? And then Kenai says, huh. And then and then and 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 then Coda says, see Kenai, there's the mountain just like I promised. But it's gonna be harder getting up there than it was riding those mammals. Riding 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 is going to be harder getting up there than riding those mammoths. And then everybody says mammoths. And then Coda ends up embarrassing him by saying, yeah, he does a lot of weird stuff. Like the way he drinks water with a leaf. He's never sharpened his claws on a tree. He's never hibernated. Before. He doesn't know how to lick himself clean. And then Coda ends up and then Kenai ends up taking Coda and saying, can I talk to you for a second? With his hand over his mouth. and then and then and then and then and then and 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 then Kenai says, "Excuse us," and then he tells Koda, "Koda, I gotta get going." And then Koda says, "Well, when you get back, we can." And then Kenai says that he won't be coming back, and before he can get to why, the other birds interrupt him and say, "You're leaving," and then he says he just said I'm going here, and then they laugh and says every bear belongs here, and then we get a nice montage of all the bears hanging out. But then it's story time under the stars and in the fireplace. It's story time for every bear that's sitting at the cinnamon run. And then we get to Kenai's story, and then he says, "I went on the longest journey with the biggest pain in the neck that I have ever met." And then he says, "Well, what do you expect from a little brother?" And then everybody just starts laughing. And that was just so sweet to me. Like, you took in this baby bear just to help him get here. And like the friendship that they grew along the way is just so beautiful. And then and then we get to Koda's story, and it turns out that the bear that Kenai killed was the mother of Koda. And then when he realizes this, he runs away, but Koda finds him, and he asks him if he's sick because he doesn't look so good. And then this is when Kenai tells him, and then we get another beautiful but sad Phil Collins song called "There's Nowhere There 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 is Nowhere in This Place." And then when the song's over, we find Koda in a tree, and then Kenai, and then Kenai is looking for him, and then Kenai can't find him, and Kenai says, "Koda, if there was some way I could go back, I would." But but even though Koda can hear him, he still won't come down from the tree. And before Kenai leaves, he turns his paw print into a little snow hand. Because right now in the woods it's December. So anyway. So Denahi is at the fireplace telling his brother Kenai that he's so sorry, that he doesn't know what he's doing because he can't find the bear that took him and his brother and actually his older brother Sika. So with that, you think he may give up, but no. He sees the eagle and he knows that it's the spirit of his brother Sika, so he goes off, and then he finds and then he finds and then he finds and then he finds Kenai finally. But I had to go back. I had to go back, guys, because the moose, Duke, the moose, the moose front and Duke, they end up getting off the mammoth. But one of them loses a horn. But don't worry. I looked into this. Horns can grow back every year. They can grow back every year. So one of them loses an antler. And they see the brother, and, and they see Koda in the cell, and then they ask what's wrong. But Koda says nothing, that he's fine. And then the brothers get back into their fights. And then one of the brothers says, being a brother means nothing to you. And then the other brother starts listing off all the things that he's been doing for him over the years. And then he asks him a question that says, why do you think I did all that stuff? And then the and then and and then the and then and then the and then the and then one of the brothers says, I don't know. And then he says, because I loved you. And then the brother just teasing with him, and he acts like he didn't hear him. And he says, excuse me, I didn't hear what he said. And he said, because I loved you. And then he said, I love you too. And then he says, hey, I can change. And then he says, no way, I can't change. Get away from me. And then he says, I can change, tickling him. And it's a very sweet and brotherly moment. And then with this, Koda realizes that even though Kenai did it, even though Kenai attacked his mother out of rage, and now his mother is gone, he still loves Kenai, so he goes searching for Kenai, right? And then the night he finds Kenai, and it's about to go down. Because the night he finds Kenai, and he's about to attack him, but no, Koda jumps in after him, and he takes the stick from, and he takes the stick from the Nike, and then 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 Kenai says, hurry, Sika, change you back. And then when it is time for the big climax moment, Danahi almost attacks Kenai, but Koda jumps in the way to stop him, and then, in all the commotion, Sika changed him back into a human, and then winter becomes spring, and then, and then, and then, and then, and then, and then, and 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 then Sika becomes, and then Sika comes out of it, and he can see that the eagle was Sika, so he drops the stick, and he knows that the bear was Kenai now, and now they are all hugging, and now they are all rejoicing of seeing each other. And then Koda, and then Koda, and then and and then Koda sees Kenai in his human form, sees 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 Kenai in his human form. And then Kenai says, Kota, it's alright, don't be afraid, it's me. And then Kota and Kenai share a hug, and then he looks at his totem, and it turns out that the bear it's left is actually Kota. And then he looks at his two brothers, and then he says to his and then he says to his brothers, he needs me. And then Denai he says, and 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 then the and then the and then Denai he says, he did look better as a bear. And then Kenai laughs and says, huh, but deny he. And then deny he says, it's alright, Kenai. No matter what you choose, you will always be my little brother. And so while they hug, he turns into a bear. And then when they get off of the hug and the handshake, she can see the bear form. And then and then and 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 then the night he laughs and says, "Did I say little?" And then Kenai laughs in his bear form, and it's a very very sweet moment. And Kenai stays the bear, and then he gets his paw print on the wall, and then the voiceover says, my brother Kenai decided to stay with Kota and the other bears. And I pass down this story to my people. The story of a man who became the story of a boy who became a man by becoming a bear. And you can see the people and the bears lined up for the ceremony, and he gets his paw print on the wall, and his brother Denai is there to watch his brother get his paw print on the wall, and then you can just see, and then you can just see Denai and Kota and Kenai playing together at the end of the ceremony. And actually, his brother Sika did come in eagle form, which I think was pretty cool. And then that is the end of the movie. So, oh, I forgot to tell you guys. When Kenai got changed back into a bear, he actually found Kota, and Kota was hugging his mother, and then her and Sika both went into the they both went into the light with all the other great spirits after the hug. And then Kota said, Kenai, and then and 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 then when they went into the light with all the other great spirits, Kota said, Kenai, and then they started playing around with each other, and then then Denaihi started playing around with Kota too, so I guess they're all friends, and they had their little ceremony, and it turns out that the man that was telling the story from long, long, long ago was his brother Denaihi. And he passed the story on to his people, proved that love is stronger than anything. And that is the end of Brother Bear. Bye, and see you guys in my next video.